Hey guys, John from the John Muir Show here, and two of the media's favorite stories of 2019 thus far have involved a group of high school students from Covington, Kentucky, and Empire television star Jussie Smollett. Now, the reason that the media has loved these stories so much is because they were able to use these stories, at least at one time, to fit their anti-Trump narrative. With the kids down in Kentucky, all right, so these Covington students, they were in Washington, D.C. last month for the March for Life, and then a snippet of a video comes out, released by some liberal activist, and the way this video makes it seem is that you had these kids going around and bullying this elderly Native American guy by the name of Nathan Phillips, being just a few feet from his face. They were claiming that he was yelling all of these terrible racist things at Mr. Phillips, and these kids were wearing Make America Great Again hats while they were standing there, so they were able to say, yep, group of Trump supporters. And then with the Jussie Smollett case, all right, this also happened last month. This taking place allegedly one night in Chicago as Smollett was walking back to his apartment. He claims that he was attacked by a couple of men, that they were shouting all these horrible homophobic and racist things at him, that they beat him, that they poured some substance on him, that they tied a noose around his neck, and all of this was done while they were yelling, "This is MAGA country," indicating that these men, too, were Trump supporters. And right away, you had the media just rushing to judgment and reporting these stories as being 100% factual. They didn't bother to take any time to confirm what was going on because these stories were exactly what they wanted. They were anti-Trump stories. They didn't just use these stories to demonize this group of students from Kentucky. They didn't just use these stories to demonize these two alleged attackers of Jussie Smollett. No, they decided to go bigger picture mode on this whole thing. And the way so many of these media outlets were portraying these stories was not just to talk about those individuals involved, but was to say that all Trump supporters are a bunch of violent racists. That is the message that they were sending out on so many of the news outlets. But then, of course, we did learn more about both of those stories. In the case of the Covington, Kentucky high school students, well, the full unedited video came out, and we had learned that these students, they were not the ones going around bullying people. Rather, they were the victims of the entire situation. These students acted incredibly admirably as they had all of these horrible racist things being yelled at them by a group of racist adults from the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. And you also had this Nathan Phillips guy banging his drum right in their face. These students were the ones who were being bullied, and they showed great restraint throughout that entire situation. They should have been praised, not demonized. And in the Jussie Smollett case, well, just the other day, we had found out that police no longer consider Mr. Smollett to be a victim. And according to police sources, they've come out and said that they believe that Jussie Smollett orchestrated the entire attack that had taken place that January night, that he was in on the entire thing because he seemingly wanted to advance his career and, of course, being a liberal, wanted to demonize Trump supporters. And it just goes to show that the media has no business rushing to judgment because in both of these cases, sure, the media wanted a narrative to be true, but it didn't turn out to be true. The media, if these media outlets were actually responsible, they would have waited for all the facts before jumping to conclusions. But you know what? No. Waiting for the facts didn't seem cool because they already, based on the initial versions of the story that came out, they already got exactly what they wanted. Trump supporters, bad, evil, racist. So why did they even, to them, they didn't even have to look any further. The story was already complete, but it wasn't complete. Some of us did want facts, and now we're getting the facts on these situations. And it's just so incredibly sad that you have these media outlets here trying to demonize good guys and trying to prop up bad guys, which is why I'm glad to see that there could be further developments in both of these cases. The legal team for Nick Sandmann, who was the lead student in this Covington, Kentucky group that was being bullied in Washington, D.C. Nick Sandmann, who was the student who was singled out by so many in the media and demonized. Yeah, the legal team for Mr. Sandmann has said that they are suing the Washington Post, who they said ran 7 stories in a 3-day span back in January that were slandering, libeling this Nick Sandmann, saying that they are suing for $250 million because of what the Washington Post did to this private citizen. And quite frankly, I hope that Sandmann and his legal team are successful in what they're doing here. And as for the Jussie Smollett case, well, it turns out now that apparently Chicago police are working to get Mr. Smollett before a grand jury. And if it is proven that Mr. Smollett was lying about this entire thing, well, you know what? He could face time behind bars. And you know what? He absolutely should face time behind bars for lying to police, for forcing them to use their resources investigating his matter. At one point in time, it said that they had at least a dozen of their investigators just on this Jussie Smollett case. Hey, it's not like they couldn't have been doing anything else. Chicago is a crime-ridden city where you have shootings taking place left and right, where there are homicides left and right. There are plenty of real crimes that these authorities could have been looking into, but instead they were stuck going after this hoax that was being thrown out there by this actor from Empire. So you know what? I hope that Jussie Smollett has to face time behind bars for what he's done, so he has a chance to reflect on what he did. And quite frankly, I hope he has sent the bill for all of the resources that were used to try and investigate this false claim. I hope that Jussie Smollett has to pay for all of that. That should not fall on the taxpayers of Chicago or the taxpayers of the state of Illinois. That should fall on Jussie Smollett, and I really do hope justice is brought in both of these situations, because quite frankly, I would hope that this would send a message to all those folks out there on the left who just want to rush to judgment and try and demonize Trump supporters, demonize conservatives, when of course most of us are not bad people whatsoever. We're just individuals who happen to disagree with them politically. I hope it will make them think twice the next time before they go rushing to judgment to demonize us. But sadly, because I know how pathetic the media is, I'm not holding my breath on it. And that's all the time that we have for today, but tune into the John Muir Show each and every weekday, 8:40 a.m. on WTAQ, 9 a.m. WSAU and WHBL. Till then, I'm out.